Well, it's been a tremendous week here at the University of Toronto Relevance Series. We've just wrapped up with the final talk, and what this week has been is hundreds of students hearing the gospel for the first time. It's hundreds of positive impressions and conversations that students here at U of T have had with Christian students on campus. It's looked like dozens of Christian students, many for the first time, taking the risk to go out and invite friends to come, to be a part of conversations on the sidewalk, to invite students to explore these questions that matter most.
Tonight we had a talk as part of the Relevance series, and the talk was about what does it mean to be human. And I think one of the very interesting things that came up was the idea that there must be some absolute definition of what it means to be human, rather than something that could be subjective, different from person to person.
I was addressing the question in a short talk and tried to anchor it on words from Psalm 8, what is man that you're mindful of him? I love David's certainty that we are loved by God, but his sense of wonder at that as well. And so really I tried to bring it to this idea that what it means to be human is to be made and known and loved by a creator God.
As Christians, we call this the image of God, the Imago Dei, and it's how we share similarities with our Creator. So we're given, creativity, a unique role for stewardship.
And artists can be truly free even while they are people of faith. In our culture, we think that freedom is license, meaning you can do whatever you want. But true freedom isn't like that. True freedom requires that we have some boundaries, some responsibilities, some parameters that we work within. Otherwise, we end up being bound by our own wishes and desires.
I think it's really important to have dialogues like this, especially in Canada, where I've kind of experienced it's almost taboo to talk about faith sometimes because you don't want to offend someone. And it's hard to start a conversation just asking someone what they believe. So it's really helpful that these kinds of dialogues get the ball rolling. And I also really love that we tried a different format for this talk with the art, but also with like an intellectual and a couple artists. And it just reveals how beautiful the body of Christ is and how beautifully unique God has made each of us to be. And so I think it's really cool and important that we share those perspectives and get to experience that overlap.
I participated in a dialogue with Professor Wayne Sumner, a very accomplished philosopher, a philosopher of law, a philosopher of ethics, and we were addressing the topic, why am I here? And the topics ranged from all over, from the foundations of ethics to whether morality is objective or not, to does God exist and does it make any kind of sense? Well, this goes to show you that while you can disagree on ideas, you can respect the other person who holds a different idea than you. This is what opens up hearts and minds, and I think that happened today.
For me, the reason why I came here was I wanted to get to know and see the other perspectives. Since I am coming from a Christian worldview, I did want to see the different perspective of an atheistic worldview.
I also like the fact that it wasn't a debate kind of thing, it was more of a dialogue.
I feel like just coming to talks like this, and I'm sure the other talks that are provided by the Relevance series, is that there's so much knowledge out there, and I guess it's our responsibility as human beings to just be aware of what's going on in the world, the different viewpoints that are out there, and with all that information, we're able to come up with more informed decisions about our own beliefs.
You know what I loved about today was that there was so much humility, that each point was valid, that they respected the humanness in each person, and that each person had compassion from their worldview. So that's what I really loved about tonight. My highlight was the fact that you could get people from different walks of life together and loving each other, and I think that is what any worldview should teach. I'm the only Christian in my family, and so I feel like when you can have these kinds of conversations, that's the best place. The worst place to be is when you're not able to have these conversations. In this country, we have the freedom to have these conversations, to respect ourselves in these ways. Because I come from Jeddah, which is a country where you don't have that kind of freedom, so I thought, for me, this itself is such a privilege that we get that, so I think that was really cool about tonight.
Tonight, so many of the questions were actually very vulnerable, heart questions and head questions. So it wasn't just a kind of a bunch of emotions, but I think young people are tired of pretending, tired of the constructed social media self. And here you have university students saying, I've got real questions, I've got real heart issues, can we talk about them frankly? And then the privilege of getting to answer.
We believe in Christianity because it's objectively true, and there's a lot of things to point to that. And on the other side, though, I think it was Tanya who was saying that because it's true, it also has repercussions and an effect on our internal life, how we feel, our happiness, our psychosocial well-being, whatever. And in my own life, I think I'm just starting to realize that now and really, I guess, embrace the full effects of the gospel and how freeing it is.
This week, there were 3 people in particular that I met that really stood out to me. There was a group of Muslim students that were asking questions about the Bible while we were out in the engagement stations, and we got into a great dialogue. I've been praying for them since. They asked great questions. They seemed receptive to some of the answers. I hope that they continue to connect and follow up and ask these questions. Tonight at the talk, there was a couple that was standing out. They were students. I brought them in. They sat down through the Q&A and we talked afterwards. I believe that God is working, with them and in them as they're continuing the search. And then there's been a young man that I've seen at 3 or 4 different talks. He's been coming around, so I'm praying that he continues to come. He's engaged with some of the students and he's been connected. So as we leave, I just pray that God will continue to work on his heart.
It's been an incredible week, deeply meaningful week. Alpha groups are starting right as this final evening is ending. They will start the week to come. Many are signed up for these groups where the conversation and the exploration will continue. Thank you for praying for this week. Thank you for making this week happen. We're excited to see the excitement among students to be sent out, not just this week, but now with new motivation to go on their campus and continue all that's begun here. We're excited for the new recommitments and the new relationships with God that are beginning, and some that are just budding and about to grow into flourishing. So it's been a wonderful week here. Thank you again for praying, and we're looking forward to what God continues to do here at this campus.